Welcome to the third week of our class, where we'll be discussing identity, belief, and self-sabotage. And on day one of week 3, we'll be discussing how beliefs are formed before we can even question them. Most beliefs don't start as thoughts, they start as experiences. Before you had your words, before you had logic, before you had the ability to reflect, your brain was already learning how the world works. Think about childhood. A child does not evaluate situations logically. They don't ask if something is objectively true. Rather, they just feel what happens and adapt to them. For example, think of a child that always picks up. Then imagine if that child, anytime they speak up, they get laughed at, or they get ignored, or they get corrected. The brain doesn't analyze those situations. Rather, it records the outcome, the emotional outcome. And over time, the brain will then draw a conclusion, which is picking up isn't safe. Remember, the brain is wired to keep you safe. And from then on, that conclusion would become what the child believes. And it doesn't mean the conclusion is accurate. It's just that it helps reduce discomfort for them. Another example is when a child tries something and then fails without getting the proper support that they should get. That child would conclude that trying brings disappointment, so they just stop trying. And from that moment, the brain will start avoiding effort, because to the brain, effort brings disappointment. So you know that these beliefs were not actually chosen consciously. They were made before we could have the ability to question them. That's why belief feels so personal and resistant to change. They are not opinions, they are just emotional predictions. And a belief is the nervous system saying that the last time this thing happened, it caused us discomfort, so let's just avoid it. As adults, we try to change these beliefs with logic. You be like, I know this fear doesn't make sense. I know this was a long time ago. You tell yourself you should be confident. But belief doesn't just disappear because it wasn't created by thinking. The belief arrived first to protect you. Logic arrives later, after the belief has been formed as a protection for you. And this is why facts alone aren't enough to change beliefs, because to the brain, contradictory informations, it's threatening and not helpful. The real change starts when you stop fighting the belief and try to understand its purpose. That's the reason why the belief was formed. And like I have said, emotion formed the belief. So understanding combined with new experiences of safety will help update the belief. Beliefs formed in early life don't break because they are wrong. They loosen when the brain learns that they are no longer needed. Awareness helps you explain the situation better to your brain. And that is the point where you begin to outgrow it by working with your brain and yourself.